And hello, good morning. Welcome to the Good Morning Education Show. This is another Friday, and you're welcome live to the show. Today is another day. We're excited to be here. My name is Rotimi Eitai, and I'm excited to be your host today. Thank you for joining us, and wherever you're joining us from, please do let us know. Tell us your name, your location, where you're streaming from, and of course, we will invite you to join us in the conversation today. If you have questions, do not hesitate to ask your questions along the line and of course contribute. We welcome contributions on the Good Morning Education Show. And if today is your first time on the show, please do let us know because we have what we call the bell of blessing, and we're going to ring that bell of blessing to you. And we are always having fun, we are always focused, we're always learning, we're always sharing, and our ultimate aim is to always grow together. And without wasting much time, our analysts are geared up and ready to get engaged, ready to share with us in our conversation today. And I'm sure you don't want to miss it. We started this week on a series, and that series actually is taking climax with today's episode or with today's show. So we're looking at the road towards resumption, and a lot of people are resuming, or a lot of schools are reopening starting from 21st of September 2020. And we have Safety Chick, we have KK, we have Eben, we have Jude, we have Rhoda, we have Titi, we have all these fantastic people that are going to be live on the show to help us, give different dimensions to the conversation of the day. Without wasting much time, I'm going to bring up Safety Chick now. Safety Chick, good morning. Safety
I'm
Chick, are you
so
there?
yes. Good morning, Mr. Ritimi. Good morning, everybody. I'm happy to be here and welcome to all our amazing listeners. Looking forward to an interesting conversation again this Friday morning.
And looking forward to your white smiles, And then I don't know, I think Safety Chick, this should be your style now going forward. You have that hair coming down in this way, like a waterfall, and yeah.
Yeah, I
So
mean
don't
like
change your
David.
hairstyle going forward. Yeah. Just leave it like that. It's safe like that. I without wasting much time, let's welcome the One Woman Republic. Have you ever heard of her? Have you ever seen her? Have you ever felt her presence? Ladies and gentlemen,
Hi
the only
guys.
KK in the building. Good morning, KK.
That's it. I'm totally enthralled by this introduction, Mr. Rotimi. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. I'm going to apologize for the noise in my background, and my mic will be on mute except I have to speak. Good morning, everybody, and it's a great day to be alive once again. Thank you.
Thank you. And of course, your cousin is just right by the door, following your footsteps. Ladies and gentlemen, the only cousin from across the border, the only one who has the unique hello in Africa. Put your hands together as we welcome Titi.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Hello.
Titi decided to change the sequence. He went first with good morning, everybody, and then he now brought the hello. I like that. Oh my God. So, how is everyone today?
Very, very well.
Very well. We're excellent.
Very well. I'm excited.
We're fine. We're excited. Today is Friday.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it
Good
Yeah.
is.
Friday.
And you
Yeah.
can sleep
Yes.
in
I'm
tomorrow and
excited.
Sunday, and I don't get to disturb your
Today's Friday
morning.
is very special.
Yes.
Today's Friday is very
Oh
Friday is
yes,
special
yes,
for
yes,
Ugochi and
yes,
I.
yes, 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 yes. It's very special. In fact, it's so special you decided to be selfish about being special. But there's no problem about that. No problem. We don't protest. We are still family. We're one in spirit. We're one online as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, yes, they're gonna have the time to share with you why this Friday is super special. I'm sure if you've been hearing about something brewing, something cooking, something loading, you're going to hear from their mouth. What is that thing? They have been cooking and it didn't get burnt. They've been cooking and it's just been on fire. Eh? All right, no problem. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show once again. Do let us know where you're streaming from, commenting from, and watching us from. We're going to have a great time today. Today, we're talking about Fit for Progress. And before we do that, as usual, we just take a bit of time to look at the news. Today's news and headline is a bit short, and then we'll comment on that, and then we'll come back to the conversation of the day. So don't leave, just stay tuned. We're going for the news now. And welcome back. We have Messelina Egbadeku saying, good morning, great educators. We're ringing the bell. Messelina, been a while. Thank you for joining. Okay, so quickly to the headline news while we watch Safety Chicks sip a cup of tea in style and swag. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're not yet hungry, I dare tell you, before the end of the show, you're going to feel so hungry. Thanks to the one and only Safety Chick with the Safety Tea mug. So, Ugochi Okore from Port Harcourt, good morning. Welcome to the show. Carol, you see, Carol escaped, and I'm sure I'm going to get Carol in the next few seconds. So, let's have feedbacks on the news quickly.
Okay, virtual learning. The one that got my attention was one that says virtual learning is suffering because of electricity challenges. And so this is it. If we are really saying that we want to do blended learning and we want more people to go online and have the options for schooling to happen online, then our electricity partners must work with us to ensure that electricity is available for this to happen. Because I mean, if you are having sessions on radio and sessions on TV, and there is no electricity for you to even watch it, then what is the point? So our electricity partners really need to work with us. Government needs to, support them, so that actually happens. We really need that. Then the second one is, if there are spikes in schools, the schools will get shut down by Lagos State government. That one also got my attention. And I think this is really important, and it's a call for all schools and even parents, to work with schools to make sure that we reduce it as much as possible. And that's why the thing announcement Titi and I will be making today will be so important, because we all have a role to play in ensuring that this spike does not happen. All stakeholders must be carried along. So yeah, those were the two that caught my attention.
Yeah, I think the two that caught Coach's attention, interesting, the two that caught my attention. When people talk about the spike in
collaboration, you are catching same attention.
You are catching. I was talking to someone yesterday, and I was saying that we did a survey in terms of how many parents are comfortable with sending their children back to school. I did a survey on my Instagram story, and 63% of people said they are not comfortable with sending their children back to physical school. I put the same poll on my WhatsApp status, and a lot of the people I know kept on reaching out to me and said, no, I'm not ready. One lady said, you know what, I'm so upset with my school. They don't want to do online. Everybody just planning for physical school, but I'm not ready. I'm just not ready. And that's for a lot of parents. I don't know how to say parents that are enlightened. They're just concerned. They're concerned about, if there's a spike, if it's going to be safe enough, and they know that schools are going to try especially the schools that the middle class schools. They know they're going to try their best to put in the relevant safety measures. But they're still worried because they know that beyond what the school does, it's not only when you're in the school premises that you would get COVID. Beyond, it's the other so many moving parts that gets them uncomfortable. The fact that teachers are coming from different places, students are coming from different places, and then everybody just bringing together. It just increases the possibility of that happening. I was still speaking to someone in another country, and they resumed school. She then told me that last week, because they are doing regular testing for teachers, she then told me that last week a teacher tested positive. A teacher tested positive for COVID. Because in as much as what the school is doing, people are still going out, people are still going out for parties, people are still mixing, at various gatherings. So the teacher tested positive for COVID. And so she was saying that, she didn't really have any interaction with that teacher, but the teacher has a student that has a sibling in her class. So do you begin to see how, why people are concerned? So yes, I don't have any interaction with the teacher, but that teacher has a child in the class that has a sibling in my class. So this just brings us back to why a lot of people are still very uncomfortable. Yes, we are tired. I really, really want my children out of the house. But you know what? I'm not ready. I can say I want them out, but I'm not ready. So as schools plan to open, a lot of parents are pushing back to say, schools, you need to give us another option. Give us that option. We understand that there's light challenges, really. NEPA has increased their bills. So in some places, the light has gone worse. Now that there's a bit of rain. But beyond that physical school, what are the alternatives? I know that this is taking us into another discussion. But what are the alternatives that schools are preparing for parents that are saying, you know what, I'm just not ready. I'm just not ready to drop my child in school. Whether it's 2 days or 3 days, I'm not ready.
What do we have to say to that? Let's talk about. Okay, Eben is here.
So guys, Eben is here. Thank you.
Yeah.
Good morning, Mr. Rotimi. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Safety. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Eben.
Good morning, City. What's going on here this morning? I think today is going to be hot because it is all about resumption and the data you generated, I'm still trying to generate mine too, but I'll be coming from the from the angle of teachers today and school owners. I have a 3 days training for teachers and school owners, and I'll be asking them their perception at which when like how many students will be resuming back to school, and I can't just wait for that data at all. I already know from the angle of the public school, but from the private school, from the angle of teachers and parents, I don't actually know what is going on. But I'm not positive about it because I know definitely so many things are going to come up. But for me, what everybody should be thinking of right now is ability to create two kind of school, which is the flip learning or the blended learning. If some parents are interested in coming to school physically, let them come to school, and then if some parents are interested in not coming to school and staying online, there should be a room to occupy them. And sometimes when we use some word like a lot of parents are not ready to go back to school, we may somehow be wrong because I still have a lot of people have been hearing about that they can't wait for school to resume.
Absolutely, Eben. Yeah, absolutely.
A lot can actually wait for school to resume. So, it is a very big country, almost 200 and something million citizens, and the children, categories of, there are some parents that don't even believe in it, and then there are some parents that actually believe in it. So, for Monday, I can't actually wait. I'll be bringing my camera to at least 3 schools to actually check how many students actually are in school. Hidden camera. And 100% sure. I'm expecting to see
Make
students.
sure you don't get arrested.
I know,
But
right?
very, but 100% sure.
Taking pictures without
No, because
authority,
I can't
without
actually wait because
authorization.
I can't actually wait because I know some students will definitely resume. And I know, okay, let me just prophesy. Mr. Rotimi, should I prophesy as the prophet for today? And Mr. Jude is not around. I want to
No,
prophesy.
don't prophesy.
I want to prophesy that 40% will be in school physically, but not on Monday because some will not
Health,
resume that
health,
Monday.
prophesy health.
Okay, I am. It is from my own. It is my own dream. I dreamed that 40%
Oh, sure.
of Lagos State students we go back to school in terms of private. They are ready to go back to physical school. Why 60%? Okay, let me go to 60%. Why 50% are using the word they are not going to the classroom. They are going to do it virtually. Why 10% will be thinking about homeschooling? Maybe 10% is too much. Maybe about 4 to 5% will be thinking about homeschooling. I would like to you. There are some things that are actually going on the ground. There are some parents that they are not even thinking of their student going to school physically. They are not even thinking of the virtual school. They are only thinking of a kind of homeschooling. Homeschooling in terms of parents taking charge of all the syllabus, collecting the curriculum from the school, and bringing some extracurricular activity into virtual. A lot. So I can't wait for big data to actually come in for us to, like Rhoda is not around. She's in charge of data. So I wish she's around for us for her to give her our own data.
Carol is in the house.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Carol, good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, good
Good
morning.
morning. Good to see you.
Ladies
You're
and
welcome,
gentlemen,
ma.
I would like to introduce you to my cousin.
The network is
My
really
cousin
bad.
is joining us. Welcome, Carol. Carol, how are you today?
Okay, I think she's in transit, so the network might fluctuate a bit.
Okay, I just wanted to let people know that my cousin is around, just like Titi.
You don't have a cousin.
Ask Carol. Carol is my cousin. Is the scene Carol is cousin?
Wow. Okay. Now we know.
we
Okay.
are related. We are related by acronym.
Okay. Oh dear. Okay.
Leading a successful
So I mean,
school. AK has done it again. Look at her top. Oh my goodness.
Mr.
Rita, I'm wearing customized top.
Rotimi, Mr. Rotimi. Okay, so guys, in terms of
all of
online
you
learning,
now,
right? So yeah,
question.
true. Rotimi, can I make a contribution, please?
Yes, please contribute money contribution. Thank
Yeah,
you.
so I mean, when we look at the things that Safety Chick said are true, but I mean, the reality is that there's some people who are finding it very difficult. I mean, some of my parents, for example, have gone back to work, and the only person at home is a nanny, and they really don't feel they've never felt comfortable leaving their children alone with the nanny. So really, schools should do all they can to ensure safety, which is a big deal. That's why I'm telling people, don't rush to resume on the 21st. There's no rush in these sort of things. For a virus that doesn't have a cure, you know what, it's better to prevent it. But we cannot throw away online learning and say that because there's no power, we can't do it. So what I would advise is, can you look for models where you can not necessarily have to stream live? So are there things that you can do such that it's self-paced, but it doesn't necessarily, people don't necessarily have to be online to get it to work? Yeah, and if you can do that, then that works. So have an offline and an online component, and then that is something that I guess we can do to make this work. But truly, like Safety Chick said, and Titi, you can't discount not having a virtual learning platform. I don't think it's good business sense, first of all, even from the business angle, and then from the health and safety angle, it really doesn't make sense to say that everybody must come back to school. If people have health challenges and they're afraid of doing that, they need to have an option, because learning needs to stay on, right? So those are my contributions. Thanks.
Thank you so much. And I like the fact that KK is always consistent with the fact that you're talking about the needs of your client, And, you know, if you go along that line, it's showing that you're also trying to be a responsive school to the needs of your client, because most times that's what really matters a lot. Titi also says as a parent that, well, there are certain things that she will prefer in this period. That's a need. And I think a lot of schools must actually have their ears to the ground, that beyond their own desires, their desires must be fused into the matrix of the needs of not just society, but their core clients. Because a lot of times we tend to meet up with checklists, and then it's at the expense of the clientele. I hope that a lot of people will be able to take that into cognizance. That's good. So we're live and we're set for today's conversation. Some people have joined. Okay, Mute, Rosemary, thank you for joining. The bell of blessing to you. All right. So we're talking about Fit for Progress. Today, we're not just going to limit our conversation to schools. We're not going to limit our conversation to service providers or vendors. We're going to go straight for the bull's eye. We're going to be talking about progress for the entire sector. Are we fit for progress? Because a lot of times it seems like we're waiting for the rank Xerox philosophy where the world teaches us how to copy. How are we mature enough? Is the sector ready to go out on a limb? Are we ready to move? And if we are ready, what kind of move should that be? What should we be finding as expression from a sector and a community of education? These are many more things I'll be looking forward to hearing from our fantastic analyst and expert, Safety Chick, KK, TT, and Eben. And of course, Carol is trying to join back. I think she's been having some network challenges. So I will start by bringing the conversation back to TT as usual. So TT, over to you, please.
Okay, progress, fit for progress. I think, just looking at where we are now, three things are very important, for progress in this sector. The first one is funding. When we look at the sector, it needs funding, whether it's, private sector funding, government funding. It needs funding to really make, significant progress. We were at the Lagos State preparation, and we realized that there's no taking away from school. Even if school moves away from physical classroom, it needs funding. It needs funding, and in another way, I would say it needs, policies that help to make the funding cheaper, and give the relevant incentives that help make it happen. So let me give you an example. So if you to enable children have devices, make it affordable, then it needs a government policy that either helps to bring down the prices of devices, such that either bringing it in, importing it, or even someone having a factory here. There's so much incentive around it that it makes it something that people will find as lucrative for them to enter, so that it then significantly brings down the price, because we need devices. The second thing is in terms of data. So government, I think, should put a lot of push in terms of making current telecom providers or potential, providers, making data for education very affordable. And not just education in terms of school, but anybody that is promoting education, whereby there's particular incentive that, when you're using such sites, that it is seriously affordable. So when I look at and say for universities, for instance, if a university decides to push their courses online, it's going to be seriously affordable. If you're doing anything that is helping to build people's skills that they can use to work, build skills educationally in that ed tech things, they would put a lot of push. This other thing is that promoting ed tech, anything that is in ed tech space, government is really putting a big push and a behind it, such that it really catches on. Because if devices are affordable, if data is affordable, apart from electricity, which is another, maybe we also need to promote solar. These three things will ensure that, I'm in my father's farm, and I'm sitting down after we finish farming, while we are waiting for that period. We're still at the farm, but I'm sitting down under the tree, and I'm going through this online course in my little phone, because the phone is now affordable. My parents can't pay school fees, but you know what? The online learning has become so affordable for me. We'll then see leaps and jumps in progress. And then when I talk about education, I'm not only about a formal school. I'm talking about anything that is promoting, building relevant skills that will help. So entrepreneurship, for instance, is something that we need to push. How businesses can be better businesses, so that even a woman is on her phone, she's in her shop, she's learning on her phone what she needs to do to attract more customers, what she needs to do to build a better business that can expand, employ more people. That's what I'm thinking about. So they need to look at it not just only from the primary, secondary school and university, but in terms of education, in terms of educating people for economic development. I'll stop there.
Fantastic. I like that introduction, and that introduction finally made a way for Carol to be online live with us. Carol, this is the Bell of Blessing. Welcome you to the show. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Welcome.
Good
Good to see you
morning,
all. Finally.
Welcome.
It's great to see everyone. Thank you, Rutimi, for harassing me.
Carol, Carol, I was trying to let them know that there's a relation, there's a family bloodline. That you're my cousin, my distant cousin.
Absolutely.
Actually, my sixth cousin. Please people get to know that she's not the only one that has a cousin.
Let me just tell you a quick story. My cousin in Jamaica, in America, has just done her DNA, and she's 73% Nigerian. So somewhere in my bloodline, I think I can claim a little bit of Nigerian heritage.
There you go.
It's good to be here.
I get it. Yeah. So we're talking about Fit for Progress today. We started a series on the road towards resumption and reopening of schools. And we wanted to end the week with this conversation. How fit are we for progress in the sector? And I know you've been doing some fantastic work with individuals and across different locations in Lagos, in Abuja, across Nigeria. I'd like to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, I was in a meeting recently with some school owners, and I have to say that despite the fact that we've been on lockdown for 6 months, 5-6 months, some of them are still not ready to go online, and it surprises me that even in this period that they've had to prepare to get themselves ready to speak to their parents and everything, some of them are still not ready. And I don't understand that, because really the most progressive schools are not only thinking about resuming school online, but what is the future of education going to look like? If this pandemic doesn't go away anytime soon, even if there is physical resumption, it's going to be somehow mixed with some online education. So, if you snooze, you lose. If you don't get ready, you have to risk losing your business, actually. And I wonder why. I'm not actually sure about what's happening in the public sector either. Are the public sector schools ready to resume school online, or are they simply going to go for physical resumption? I don't know. Those are just my few thoughts.
Okay, so you actually made a valid point. Look at resumption, but not just resumption, but the future of education, because we cannot really say that there's a timeline to this pandemic. More or less, we need to evolve our reality into the next few weeks, probably next few months, probably even next few years, and that's a very valid point that you made there.
Mm.
Yeah, over to Titi. Do you want to say something? Titi?
Oh no, I want saying I like Carol's. If you snooze, you lose. I'm going to put that up. If you snooze, you lose.
Okay, let me put it online. So, do you have questions?
The thing is, we have to we. Why are you putting me on the hotspot, Rotimi?
No, Titi's
I think. Okay, go on. I'm ready. So
I mean,
one of the things go ahead, Titi.
KK, actually. So when we think about fit for progress, I believe that we should first of all define what is progress. Exactly what are we measuring in terms of progress? Because progress means that we're moving from point A to point B, and so we need to define what's our point A, what's our point B, right? So if progress is in terms of being fit for resumption, then where are we right now? And what are the things we need to put in place? And of course, you cannot discount your customers in that regard. You must ask yourself, what are the needs of my community? What are the gaps that my community has in terms of capacity as well, right? Because, I mean, to be fit for progress, people are going to carry you, physically to that progress, to that place where you're going to go. So if we want to be fit for progress, then we must look at what are the needs of my community? What will my community consider as progress? And what do I need to be progressive, right? So those are the things that we need to look at. And to be honest with you, like Carol said, if you snooze, you do lose in this time. Because, I mean, every single time I'm on Instagram these days, there's somebody that is starting something that is starting on the month, coming to your house. There's just something, right? So there's just so much movement happening in the education sector at this time. And it's both online, it's people saying, you know what, I can come to your house and teach you, so all sorts of things are going on. So as a school, you must say to yourself, I must have the blended learning framework. I must be virtual and I must be physical, right? Because there are people who would love on-site learning. We can't take that from them. They're just people who are traditional in their mindset. You know what? Let my child be in that classroom. Let them be seeing the teacher. These online serves, I don't get it. So we do have those sort of content. But we also have people who are a bit more, let me use the word progressive and say, you know what, it's fine, let's try it out. And there's some that say, you know what, online it is for me, because they know what's up, right? So the future of education as we see it, in Nigeria as we are right now, I doubt that 80% of the population is ready for virtual learning. Reality. Okay, so there will be some form of blended format, but the more we progress in this thing, and that's where mastery comes in, isn't it? The more they begin to see that, schools are actually, I don't blink an eyelid if I have to take a course with Harvard online. I don't blink. I pay my money sharp and I take it because I know I will get value for what I paid for. I know that the only difference is that I will not feel the cold in Boston. I will not eat Oyibo food because that's what I'm going to miss. But if it's in terms of content and delivery, and meeting the learning outcomes that have been set for the course, no brainer about that. It will happen. So we need to parents become more and more comfortable with our delivery and what exactly it is that we have promised to do and that we're doing it. We're going to still have this skepticism surrounding a purely virtual learning environment. So the future of education, yes, it is tending towards online, but it might be a little slow when we look at the Nigerian context, just because of our mindsets, power issues, data issues, and all of this kind of ones that we have kind of opened up this morning. So yeah, in terms of fit for progress, we must look and say, where are we going? Where do we need to go? What do we need to do? How do we need to communicate these steps? What exactly are we going to measure? When do we start to measure it? What are our timelines? And how how do we ensure that we can consistently stay progressive, right? Because progress for me is it's not a destination, it's a process. So we just keep going. Thanks.
You did three things in one. You spoke on fire, you spoke with fire, and now you're spitting with fire. I don't know what to do. You need to call 911. Somebody call 911. Okay. Let me. Okay, so over to you.
Okay, Mrs. Ajayi actually said something that was really on top of my mind, which is we need to redefine what exactly our goal is. What does progress look like to us? So for me, I'll say there are three things when we're talking about the context of Fit for Progress. So the first one is redefine what progress means to you. So is it in terms of resumption? Is it in terms of your curriculum? Is it in terms of even how you are going to go about your schooling in this time? So you have to redefine what it is. So if, for instance, we're saying in the higher institutions, the way we are still teaching is not moving with the times, is not moving with the future of work, then we need to redefine specifically in that area. So that redefinition is so important. After you redefine, the next is infrastructure. So like Mrs. Ajayi stated, a lot of people are not yet ready for the virtual thing, even though we know that is what we should be doing right now. So you are in the course of redefining what you want, then you're going to begin to put structures in place, spread it over a period of time. You may not be able to do 100% virtual now, but if you can start with 10%, and then maybe over the next few months, it grows to 50, you just keep growing over time. That's for infrastructure. And then the third and very important thing is mindset. See, if the mindset is not right, even with the infrastructure, even with the redefinition, the school owners are going to be scared. They are going to get stuck. And that was what Mrs. Barlow was mentioning, that even now, 5 to 6 months after, they are not yet ready, because some people just can't wrap their minds around it that, oh my God, is this actually happening? So the mindset is very important. If people need to go and take certain courses to put their minds in the growth mindset, it is so important. There's a particular lady, she's talked about it on TEDx, and she even has a book about it, Mindset, Carol Dweck. Dweck is D-W-E-C-K. The fixed mindset will not take anybody anywhere, most especially in a world that is almost changing per second. So the growth mindset is so important at this time. So if you're able to redefine your goals, put the necessary infrastructure in place, and your mindset is on point, to a really large extent, you're going to make progress.
And I really want us to bring this back to Carol, right? I'm not putting you on the hot seat, but as my cousin, I need to ask you the questions I can. It's not always easy to bring your cousin online. Your busy cousin. Okay, so Carol, in your own perspective, what would you say should be our path to progress, especially looking at our contextual reality? As a sector, not just for schools, as a sector, you're an experienced individual within the education space from UK, and also looking at it within Nigeria. You've been to Cameroon to do several stuff. So what would that perception be? What would be your take on that, please?
Well, to be honest, I think it starts with the fact that I'm always very wary of being critical, because I'm a guest at the table, so to speak. So I don't like to criticize, but until the powers that be begin to invest in education and be spending upwards of 20% of their GDP on education rather than the 6% that they're spending at the moment, the sector is not going to make progress. The private sector is trying, but even within the private sector, if you look at the variance between the very top schools and the very, the shall we say, low fee paying schools, there's a huge disparity, even in terms of what Ife was saying about infrastructure. So, for me, I don't know what the answer is. Without that kind of investment in the sector, without the government really taking things seriously across the board for the whole nation, I don't know how that's going to happen. So I think individual schools are trying, independent schools are trying, organizations like NAPS, ASIN, you know, all of these schools, all these associations are all trying to raise the standard, so to speak. But the reality is that unless the nation as a whole begins to see the importance of education, I don't see a way forward. And for me, every time I think of the big problem, it makes me kind of shrug my shoulders and think, why don't I just go home? What keeps me going is the vision that I've always had, which is transformational change through education. You know, we have to just keep going and influence. You know, if I'm making a difference, and Rotimi's making a difference, and Kiki's making a difference, and if we're all trying, you know, slowly, you know, the drops turn into a mighty ocean. So that's just where I am. I don't have a solution. I don't have an answer, because I think it takes more than us as individuals. It takes the nation, the government, to begin to invest in infrastructure for real change to take place. So I think every school, every school owner, every person within the sector, whether it's, you know, myself and others as consultants or whatever, we just have to keep going and doing our part. The big picture, Rotimi, I don't have a solution. I really don't. I think we just have to keep doing what we're doing and making the little changes that we can make and continuing to do what we do. The beauty of the online space is that we can reach a lot more people. And I think that's what's been exciting about the last 6 months, is that we can actually make more of a change. We're having to rush around less, get on planes less, and yet we're having greater impact. Shows and programs like this help to engage people and move the whole nation forward. So yeah, that's just my opinion.
Rotimi, I just want to take from what, you know, Carol has said.
Yeah.
There's that funding. You know, we can't get away from it. When I look at the public sector, we can't build enough classrooms quickly to, you know, meet the needs. We can't build enough classrooms. The average cost of building a classroom is huge. Even if we build the classrooms, as we build more classrooms, we need more teachers. Currently, even what we have on ground doesn't have enough teachers. I mean, look at the examples that someone gave, that he has a junior secondary school, they have almost 2,000 children, and they have 20 teachers. So
wow.
there's also that challenge. So for me, you know, one way for government is really to say this online thing is something that can help us, you know, achieve things in leaps and bounds beyond what we're currently doing. But it needs the investment. It needs the investment of funds. It needs the investment of policies to drive it. Look at what we are saying, and it's across the sector. Look at what we are saying in terms of teachers. We need better quality teachers, because you can build as many schools as you want, fill it up with as many children as you want, but if you don't have quality teachers, the learning outcome, the result of the quality of students that will come out of it will still be very mediocre. So in the end, the investment can really change with good quality teachers using technology. And it's a pity that Rhoda is not here. I always like to refer to their model, because I see that it works, whereby you've created quality content, you've created a quality process, it's online, and then you just do a bit of training for the teachers, and because they already have access to this quality content, they can quickly catch up. You're giving them step by step on what they need to do to teach the student. They tell them, if you're doing math, start with this introduction, you know, and they have on a tablet that guides them in case they forget. So what that simply means that you can easily take a teacher that wasn't so fantastic, but with the right scaffolding, quickly just, you know, elevate them, and they can teach better. So imagine if government makes such significant investment in the teacher, so that even online, this thing that's online that we are talking about, where you could only reach 100 people, you can reach 1,000 people. We will begin to see the leaps. We'll begin to see the leaps and bounds. So we can't get away from the need for government to put serious backing in terms of funding and in terms of policies that will drive it, not from building physical classrooms, but from creating the enabling environment, leveraging on technology.
Fantastic. And I also want to ask, I'm going to go straight back to Carol, but I'm bringing back to everyone as well. Is it a case of who moved my cheese? Is it possible that we don't want to change with change, as it were? Because from the things that you're all saying, we're reaching, and Carol said we're reaching more online, which is a very true statement. Even in a shorter possible distance as well. So what you would have done maybe in a month, you could actually do in less than 2-3 weeks using that platform. So how do we address that? Is it a thing like we're not trying to change, or should it be that we also lack courage? Because sometimes some people are stuck in their ways because of the things they fear. Online school, some people don't call it school. They just want to say online learning because something about it when you say online school, then it talks about the entire 9 years, the process, the administration, and so many things like that. What's your take about that, Carol?
I think you're absolutely right. I think people are set in their ways, and I think one of the problems and the issues, and I'm going to take it back to my favorite topic, which is curriculum. One of the problems that we have in Nigeria is that the curriculum is content driven only, and it gives very little space for what we classify as the 21st century learning skills: collaboration, creativity, critical thinking, and communication skills. So, those that are, shall we say, that the adults that are now in the system, they've been taught using that system. They've not got those skills. They don't know. I mean, one of the most beautiful things that has happened as a result of COVID is schools are beginning to collaborate. Schools are beginning to share good practice. Even us as consultants, as people in the education space, we're beginning to talk. We're beginning to communicate. Rotimi, before now, I've had your phone number for about 4 years. Right? And it's only as a result of this COVID season that we started talking, I didn't know TT before, I didn't know FA before, I didn't know any of you guys before. And now it seems like we're almost virtual friends. We know ourselves, we know our names, we know what we do. We're beginning to collaborate and communicate and develop solutions and things like that. Now, some school owners are still stuck in their ways and are still fearful of collaboration, are still fearful of communication, communicating effectively and finding those solutions. And that comes back to the curriculum, to the system that we have here. It's a top-down system. The authority figure is Oga, yes sir, no sir, yes sir. Whether you agree or disagree, it's one of those systems that is top-down. Do as I say, don't do as I do. And until we begin to change the system, which starts with the curriculum, we're never going to change. We need to, like I work with schools, and for me, I work with the leaders. Because at the end of the day, if the leaders can't change their mindsets, then nothing is going to happen at teacher level. So I work with the school leaders and I try to change their mindsets to be able to understand the importance of modifying the curriculum. Now, fundamentally, if you look at simply the content of the Nigerian curriculum, there's not much wrong with it, with the exception of English and ICT. But there's, it's there. The standard of maths and science and some of these other subjects is far higher in the Nigerian curriculum than it is in the British curriculum. So why is it that people are still running to use the British curriculum? They're running to use the British curriculum because of the skills that are developed through that curriculum. The focus of the British curriculum is mostly on the skills that are developed. What can children do as a result of their learning? And so, until school leaders begin to change their mindsets and begin to accommodate some of these things within their curriculum, even if they're sticking to the Nigerian curriculum, the whole society is going to stay in this mess. It really is. It's going to stay in this mess, and we're not going to be able to move mindsets forward. again, I'm a guest at the table. I'm trying not to criticize, but that's just my opinion. I kind of feel like I'm one of you now. So when I speak, I'm often saying we need to, as opposed to I think you should.
You're one of us.
You're one of us. Your CNN report, and that you're from my lineage.
That's right. Is that Yoruba? You know, every tribe is trying to claim me. The Igbos are trying to claim me as well.
Yeah, you actually do look like an Igbo woman. As a matter of fact, you actually look like your skin tone, your body type, like everything. I'm serious. I will send a picture to you on Instagram.
Wow. But they do say that I have Yoruba hips. I have those big hips. Are the Yoruba hips.
Carol, receive it. You're blessed. Receive it. Touch it.
Oh my goodness.
Okay. I have a statement I want to stress from what Carol said, and then there's something I want to show everyone, and I think Titi has an answer to that. Titi and Ugochi has an answer to that. But let me say this, Carol, you mentioned something very profound. You said we need to change the system, and in the bit of doing that, we need to realize that the system starts with the curriculum. That is so profound, you know. A lot of times, you know, people want to change, but they're wondering, where do we start from? And that's the answer to us in the face, that we will need to look at that without wasting much time to begin to see how we modify, because the system really is embedded in the curriculum. So I'm going to show us something in just a few seconds, and then Titi is going to answer the question to that, right? So let's... Okay. Question. All right. Because Jude is not here, because Eben is not here, you people feel you can attack me. My cousin is here. Carol will save me.
You're out.
Don't bring me into it.
Welcome back to the show. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Good Money Education Show, and you can see that if anybody's smiling with the white teeth, that's Ugochi. If there's anyone hiding behind the screen, that is KK. If there's anybody looking like as a cousin, that is PT. And of course, if there's anyone looking like me, that is up on there, that's my cousin Carol. And of course, you know me.
Before I answer your question.
Oh, so you can answer now. Can you imagine?
I want to say something, you know, profound that Carol said. You know, people always say, Nigeria, we need to change the curriculum. We need to change the curriculum. And I've looked at the curriculum, and I've come to the same conclusion that Carol. The curriculum in itself, especially math, English, and science, there's nothing wrong with the content. What is the problem is the application. And Carol hit the nail on the head when she said that, you know, ours is just for us to, the way we do the curriculum is that we want to go to tick a box, or the child can recite this. The child can tell me what this is, not what they can do.
Right.
You understand? This COVID has shown that our children have been going to school and ticking the box, ICT. But when they were at home using the laptop, people were like, oh, what have you been doing with all this ICT that you've been doing for 4 years? Why can't you do this? And we suddenly realized that they were ticking the box. The curriculum had those things, but they couldn't really do. They couldn't do. So they know math, but the application, the skills from it is what is missing. So when we say they want to revamp the curriculum, I always say, I think that's where we should start. I think it's to say, how do we ensure the application? And that's where STEM comes in. I like what program that is coming up this Saturday, tomorrow, that Lagos State is doing. Because what STEM does is that it's not as if it's anything new. It's just that it brings the practical application when it relates to science, technology, engineering, arts, all those things, rather than put them in isolation and tick the box. It allows you to say, what can you do? What can you do? I told someone that when I look at the way the British ask questions and the way we ask questions, you can see the difference. We asked you, what is filtration? What is osmosis? But they would ask that, okay, Carol was making tea in the morning and she put her tea bag in a glass of water, and then suddenly she came back and her water is now brown. What do you think happened?
Right.
You understand? You have to understand, the process, and they give you the option because it's the application of the knowledge. But we continue to ask, what is osmosis? And the child can just recite it without really understanding the process. They will tell you, oh, we're in the car, and then it's raining outside, and you playing on the glass, and then I noticed that the glass is cloudy. What has happened? I need to then understand, what condensation is. For me to then say it's condensation that has taken place. So we have that thing of moving away from ticking the box. And that is why when you're employing someone today, the person tells you they finished with a 2-1, they won't finish their first class, but critical thinking is missing. That ability to collaborate, realizing that, you don't have it all. And I like what Carol said, is that COVID has just helped us all collaborate and move faster. And that is just the collaboration that Safety Chick and I are doing. I first of all like to ring the bell of blessing for Rotimi bringing us together. Rotimi, I'm ringing my bell of blessing. To this, we could collaborate.
That's my own collaboration. Your collaboration.
You will see, how I found Carol online because we suddenly started looking to hear what people are saying, and now she's on the show. We know what she's doing. It's collaboration, and I'm hoping that schools, after COVID, and when we go back to full normal or new normal, this collaboration will continue. But Safety Chick and I are collaborating on saying, are kids ready to go back to school? My second child is a hugger. Before you say anything, he's ready to hug you. And I'm saying to myself, even if you're to go back to school, are you aware of what you need to do? That you can't just go and, I've not seen Miss Carol, and you're running to go and hug her. I have to keep reminding him regularly. When they're wearing their face masks, when we do go to the shops, I have to keep reminding them regularly. And that's really what the safety checkup game is all about. It's saying as the children go back to school, how can we check that, first of all, our children are up to speed in terms of the requirements, and not just from saying, oh, this is COVID. What does it mean? How is the disease spread? So that you understand why the safety measures. It's not just enough to say we are wearing masks. Why are you wearing the mask? Why are you doing the social distancing? And this thing is not a one-off. I tell you, I still remind, immediately a visitor comes to our house, I look at my son and I'm trying to, make eye contact with him to remind him, I know your auntie is coming through the door, but remember, So there's a need for the constant reminder as children resume, whether it's physical or not, to let them know that every morning, even though they tell you, before you say Jack Robinson, they're back, close to each other, then you have to remind them, social distancing, put on your mask. And that's what we hope to achieve with this game, whereby your child, you first of all check that your child is ready, and that constant reminder in a fun and engaging way, using the safety check-up game.
Fantastic. So, ladies and gentlemen, you've heard it from TT, and you've seen the smile from Safety Chick. So make sure you go ahead and do something. Register, download, pay. Just do something about it. Right? This is one of the many firsts coming up from the world of collaboration. And of course, I love something that I'd like us to end today's show with. And it's just Carol telling us a little bit of a chip from your vision. You know, I love people who are visionary. You said your vision is transformational change through education. That's a bell of blessing kind of something. Yeah. So can you end the show with that piece? Just like kind of create a value or vision infusion to everyone out there, because really what's missing is a lot of people are not vision driven, they are action doing driven, meaning they want to do because people are doing, but there's nothing driving them like a vision. And sometimes they burn out faster just as they started. So could you just say that as we bring this close?
I think what I will say, Rotimi, is that I fell into education by accident. I never intended to be a teacher. I went into teaching in order to fund, I wanted to work part-time as a teacher and fund my master's. That was why I decided to study to do education. And I got into the classroom and I realized that I'd found my vocation. I'd found that thing, you know, that thing that you were born to do. And one of the things I've realized over the years, I've worked with the most challenging children. I've worked with children with special educational needs. I've worked with children whose lives have been disrupted through family separation, and they are acting out in terms of their behavior. And I've seen the value that education has brought to their lives. I've seen lives literally transformed. I mean, children who were violent, aggressive, abusive, and all of that, suddenly have become the most amazing citizens through educators who care for them and educators who are passionate about what they do. So I understand the remit and the importance of education and the fact that one teacher, you know, if we all close our eyes and think back to our school days or our university days, we're all able to think of that one teacher that inspired us, that one teacher that gave us that excitement about a particular subject. There's been somewhere, everybody can remember that one teacher. And I remember my one teacher was Mr. Baker. It's too long to tell you the story, but I remember him. He's probably long past now, but I remember he transformed my life. As a young person, he transformed my life. And once I moved into the education sphere and began to see lives being transformed through passionate educators who were going to make a difference, who were going to excite them, motivate them, challenge them, and all of that, I began to see that transformational change can happen through education. Lives can be changed. Whole generations can be changed through one passionate teacher. So that's where that's where I came up with that vision that if we can, as consultants, as trainers, as people in the education sphere, if we can help teachers, especially in this environment where some of them are not passionate, they've fallen into education because they can't find a job anywhere else. If you can give them that thing that helps them to understand the importance of their job, forget the pay, forget the salary, forget the terms and conditions, but actually understand how important you are in those children's lives, then we can begin to make a difference. Then we can begin to transform lives, transform families, transform generations, and ultimately transform a nation. I rest my case.
In fact, anything after this is over syllabus undergraduate. You know, in a Jamaican way, they say,
no, Professor in view.
Yeah. Okay.
Well said, Carol.
Thank you.
So we really had a great time with you. We're definitely going to bring you back, or probably make sure maybe every Friday Carol is online with us on the show. We will work towards that. And definitely, I'm sure you've learned something, and please do something what you've learned today. We all are wired for progress, but let's ensure we are fit for the progress that we do seek and desire. And I believe that the country, the sector, our schools, and all stakeholders will be better for it in the short term, in the midterm, and also in the long term. It's been a great time. It's been a great week. And it's going to be a great weekend. Please look out for Safety Chick and Ninja Cakes. There's something that is brewing, it's ready, it's off the fire, ready to be served, smoking hot. I think it's 6 p.m., right? Or 5 p.m. Am I correct, guys?
5:30.
5:30. So I'm in between 5 and 6. So 5:30 p.m. on Instagram, and you will see some conversation showing you what has been behind the scenes. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been great. Carol, thank you. Bell of Blessing. All people join. Bell of Blessing. Kitty hiding her face. Bell of Blessing. Collaboration. Bell of Blessing. And of course, to my new cousin. Bell of Blessing. It's been a great time.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.